Immaculate Virgin, Mother of Mercy, Help of the sick, Refuge of sinners, Comforter of the afflicted, you know my wants, my troubles, my sufferings. Look upon me with mercy. When you appeared in the grotto of Lourdes, you made it a privileged sanctuary where you dispense your favors, and where many sufferers have obtained the cure of their infirmities, both spiritual and corporal. I come, therefore, with unbounded confidence to implore your maternal intercession. My loving Mother, obtain my request. I will try to imitate your virtues, so that I may one day share your company and bless you in eternity. All right. I really like this class. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. But the reason I really like it, one of the reasons I really like it, is I think we're actually answering the question. Okay? Can morality be objective? And we go over this again every single time. We'll warm up. Can it be objective? And the answer is yes, because actions are really for an end goal. Now, that question is debatable. I think falsely debatable. I think refutably debatable. But this is attacked. This notion that there is an end goal to be achieved by action is then refuted. The first guy to really go after it is the guy named David Hume. He's not very humorous.
Bad joke.
There's Hume, David Hume, and then there's his cousin, very humorous.
It's getting worse. Oh my God. It's getting worse.
It's very, very, very humorous. Okay, so anyway, but forget about that joke. David Hume questioned it. So what he said is he said that finality is metaphorical. Meaning it's not really that it's for there, it's that what we're used to saying. If I throw this billiard ball on the table and it hits this billiard ball and it pushes that billiard ball down the table, it's not actually this ball that pushes this ball. All you see is this ball that hits that ball and that ball that goes forward. And you in your mind say, the two things are connected. But it's really, there is no such thing as causality. There is no such thing as a finality, end goal, as what your brain puts to explain reality. So the difference is between actions are for an end goal, and we say that actions are for an end goal. Right. This is sounding familiar, right? This is kind of sounding like the bar guy, Atheist Andy, sitting with you being like, you think that there's a point to life, but there's not. It's just that we're used to saying things are a point in life. After all, who are you to say that it's better to eat carrots than to eat sugar candy? Life's short. Start with dessert. All that kind of stupid thing. It gets the smoker in there, dude, you get cancer, you gotta die somehow, bro. You know, it's that type of guy. You're like, who are you to say that? And now you can understand, because when you put this, as we say that actions are really for an end goal, what happens is this, we say, this becomes relative to your culture. It becomes relative to your epic. It becomes relative to your religion. It becomes, look at all that word I keep using again. Relative. Relativism means that, yes, there are moral norms, but the moral norms are not universal.
an objective. They are relative to. If you're from Ohio, or sure if you're from the 20th century, or sure if you're a Catholic. See how this works? So they're like, yeah, you say that, but we don't say that here. And then what happens? Is relativism, once you say that, you're like, well, sure, relativism says that there are moral norms. Their morals are relative. Now, what happens? Morals are relative. This is what's so amazing about that. That sounds so hip. That sounds so chic. Look what happens with relativism. This is a great argument if you talk about with Andy, Billy Bob. Remember his name, it's Atheist Andy. Because once you say morals are relative, you're like, yeah, dude, it's all relative. Okay, so now what happens? Therefore, cultures that clash have no higher authority to rule them. So you come from a conservative background that says gay marriage is terrible. Another person comes from a liberal background that says gay marriage is wonderful. So now what do? Your world says it's bad, your world says it's good, but now we live side by side. The fact is that cultures that clash have no authority to rule them. This is problematic because we need to live in one society. That's why that's a problem. It wouldn't be a problem if you were like, oh, dude, I'm from rural Ohio and I'm going nowhere. It's like some down in Texas, for example, the Catholic school system is very weak. And I wasn't used to that at all. My city of 300,000 people in Toledo has 6 Catholic high schools. 6. 2 all boys, 2 all girls, 2 co-ed. And it's only 300,000 people. The entire city of Laredo, which is 350,000 people, has 1 Catholic high school. I have 6, 1. And they're having trouble with enrollment. And you're like, and everybody there is Catholic. And why? Because they're all like, hey man, just send them to the public schools because everyone's Catholic anyway. And you see that a lot of times when you're in a smaller part of society that doesn't move a lot. If you live in a part of a country outside of a big city, you're just like, it doesn't really matter because we're all in the same culture. Remember when I taught at Sydney High School, I had 2 students who didn't have a German last name. Everyone else in the entire, of 187 students, 185 had German last names. My favorite was Bugenbiller. Fräulein Bugenbiller. Okay, so that's just like, but when you need to live with other cultures, what do? You have 2 options. Option number 1, you separate and fight. It is illegal to be a Trump supporter. Imagine on your church sign, if you're like, so proud of our president, put that on your church sign, you probably get protesters. But I was just driving at the corner of Evans and University, and there's a Methodist church there, and it said, we stand with our immigrants. No one's going to protest that. No, but you could. You'd be like, stand with your immigrants. They're not even. They're illegals. This is a different thing. Oh, don't call that. That's racist. Says who? Says you. Well, so I don't call that racist. Now what are you going to do? Well, basically, you go over there with all your little liberal friends. I'm going over here with all my conservative friends, and then we're going to make fun of each other. And my goal is to get the White House so that I can crush you to the ground. And what's amazing to me is that that's exactly what the liberals are doing. The left side of society is violent. When they had the Women's March, which was clearly a leftist manifesto, pro-life groups weren't even allowed to be a part of it. Nobody counter-protested. But when they had the Trump Day of Trump support, there were fights that broke out all over the place. Who's fighting them? The anti-Trumpers. Now hold on. The anti-Trumpers are the ones that say morals are relative. So it should be like live and let live, bro. Because who's to say who's right? It's amazing. As soon as you say morals are relative, in today's culture, what you're actually saying is there is something that is right and that trumps you, that beats you. This, you separate and fight is one option. The other option is that you surrender to whatever the majority decides. Those are your only two options. One is war, and one is peace. This is a really important argument, guys. I really want you to understand this. So if you don't, like, raise your hand, talk. Just like, let's talk about this, because you need to be able to have this so in your brain that when you meet atheist Andy, who's up there being like, your values are divisive and you're being hateful, stop him right in his tracks and be like, I had better have an opinion, and you had better have an opinion, and we had better talk about those opinions, because if we don't, you're asking me to surrender to whatever you or the society or the culture around me says is right. And guess who else did that? Nazi Germany. And 6 million people died. And then they'll say something like, you can't even talk about Germany, it's offensive to the Jews or whatever, like, you know, because like it's ridiculous where they go. But if you stick on your guns, look at how logical this is. Once you say morals are relative, it means that the cultures that clash, and we're trying to live together, when there's a clash, there's nothing to resolve the dispute. So either you just fight for power till you destroy the other side, or you surrender and lay down and die.
How's that peace?
It's not, it's a fake peace. It's the peace of death. It's Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd.
Cool.
Which was a song that the left used to sing, Comfortably Numb. I have become comfortably numb. And the whole song is, when I was a child, I had a fleeting glimpse. Out of the corner of my eyes, I turned to look, but it was gone. I cannot explain, this is not how I am. The child is gone. The day is done, or the song is done. Oh, I have become comfortably numb. The whole song is like, basically like, you've died the peace of death. Well, because now watch. When he says majority decides, I put that on purpose because it sounds noble. But today, who dictates what the majority thinks? TV. And who runs TV? Money. Always remember that. That's why it's a cool thing to be in school business. You guys are recognizing. If you don't have $1.9 million, you don't get a building. You don't get a building. You don't get a school. You don't get a school. You all be quiet. So then what do? I go around saying, I need $1.9 million. Why? Because I'm going to put Obama down. Everything that he did, I'm going to undo my entire life. I'm going to undo the damage. We're going to save our culture. Why? So I need money. Because with the money, I can have a voice. And with the voice, I can influence the majority. See how this works? So your cultural warfare is there. It's about getting into this voice. Because the moral relativism has been declared already as victorious, and that goes all the way back to this guy, David Hume. So the line of argument is really simple. When you're dealing with a relativist, you're dealing with someone who says the end goal, saying things that are end goal, that's just metaphorical. It's poetic. It's something that it makes our world make sense. But in fact, you are going to be conditioned by your culture, your ethic, your religion, your family, your habits, all these things. So once you say the end goal of finality is metaphorical, then you simply go from there to say that your culture or your setting dictates your sense of the end goal. And therefore, to make peace, we need a new culture, mutually agreed upon, and that's going to be the majority opinion. This means that the opinion makers are kings. They are ruled start to see things. And this is where Brother Meerschaum and his conspiracy theories start coming into play. And I've heard it so many times. The family, the Rothschild family. They'll come up, the Roths, I think it's with an S, child. You kind of like heard that name. What's around? Well, it's actually a banking thing. It's an elite banking where they'll finance things. But once you hear banking, it's like, whoa. So what they'll do is they'll say, we got $3 billion. Now, if you do that, but now we're going to invest and we're going to own it. So you get to run it, you get your dream, but we own it. So now, all of a sudden, that money is working, but they're going to say you have to do this and this and this to keep the money. So I don't know if the Rothschilds didn't see that. That's the conspiracy theories type of things. But there's a lot of families that are like that, a lot of people like that. This is kind of like, why? Because you realize if George Soros could give, I think he gave $110 million away to finance the Women's March. What that Women's March did is absolutely huge. It galvanized, gave an identity to a whole movement across the country. Well, if he keeps on doing that, well, he's a multi-billionaire. If you're a billionaire, you make, there's 365 days a year. So you make, if you own $1 billion, you make $3 million a day.
He funded all the euthanasia stuff here too.
If in Colorado, get that passed. And he's behind the pro-abortion bill in Ireland. And how is he behind? Remember that stupid movie we watched? Look at what that is. There's 100,000 people that watched that stupid little movie. Who paid for it? So the guy with money speaks the voice that then shifts the majority opinion. It's really sad.
That whole thing you have down, I think, is exactly how it does happen, but I don't know if that's how it should happen. Like, I disagree with how it does happen, but that is how it happens.
Oh, I'm not saying it's good yet.
Yeah. Like, the culture does, and the setting does dictate your sense of the end goal, but we allow it to. You know what I mean?
And that's because of this.
Yeah.
Because what you have to do to fight this is to say the end goal is not metaphorical now. What do you need to say that? It's really simple. I'll put it in red for you. And that is that my intelligence goes beyond the conditioning of a thing to touch its essence. Now that's a fancy philosophical jargon, but I want you to have it. That's the correct philosophical way to say that. What these words mean is that I know my intelligence. I know something deeper than a thing's outside. That would be like simple English. I touch what it really is. That would be super easy English. Conditioning is a philosophical term that means everything that is about the appearance, that's about the timing or the setting, that is about the how of a thing. A thing's how is its conditioning. So this class at 7:30 after that dinner by Father Nathan on this subject, that's all conditioning. What it is, its essence. That is the point that Hume disagreed. Hume said, no, the only thing that you can know is how a thing appears to you. You never really know what a thing is. There's many ways to refute David Hume, because the reason he said that philosophically is because he was an empiricist. So you can fight that in different ways. That's too far afield, but you can fight it. I would like to suggest that in your barroom brawls that you're going to have the rest of your lives, sitting at the water cooler, with atheist Andy, he's always around. Joe Cool is like, you know what the meaning of life is? Whatever you think it is. Joker. What's he assuming? He's assuming that you don't know what things are. Once you know what a thing is, then I know that it implies this, because I know that every action is for the sake of something else. That's what an action is. And if atheistic asks you to prove it, it's really hard to do it. You almost have to just say, atheistic, you're just an idiot. And I'm really sorry to say that, but like if you don't know that, my heart is made for love, then I can't, what am I supposed to do with it? That's what Aristotle said. He said, when you're in front of somebody who doubts the ability of the mind to go beyond the sensations, the only thing you can do is walk away. Now, I think you can refute that because, like I've said that for years in classes, and then I've left you off to be eaten by the wolves. Go ahead, sheep, just walk away. Like, it doesn't work. So you can't refute it if that's too far afield again. Like I could do that for you, but it's too far afield. The other thing you can do is just show them where it ends up. Alright, atheist Andy, you're so cool. There is no truth. Well, there has to be a practical truth. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to make laws. So now tell me, therefore, atheist Andy, who should shape that practical truth? Oprah? Who should do it? Oprah? Richard Simmons?
But you'd get a car.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous? Obama's going to shape my practical truth. Who is it that tells you, Andy, what's right and wrong? Since we're all relative to our culture, where'd you get that? Where'd you learn that? And he'll give you some I really like this scientist. So why can't I say I really like this? Well, why do I have to like that scientist if it's all relative? If morality is relative, then what's wrong with mine? And what he's going to say is, well, yours causes division. Mine makes peace. And all you have to do is point out the fact that his peace that he claims was actually divisive 30 years ago. Sit-ins at Berkeley, violent fire bombs. You look at the 60s and the cultural inversion of values that took place, it was violent. Paul Oleski and these guys, Saul Oleski, they were throwing fire. They teach you how to make Molotov cocktails to kill people. They were burning buildings down. They were rioting the streets. The Kent State shootings, for example. But we make a big deal about the fact that the cops killed the kids, but when you read the details, the kids, there were 700 teenagers around 4 police officers, and they were chanting, death, death, death. 700. They're surrounded on top of a hill. And the cop shot because he was terrified, and he didn't do it on purpose or this whole. But it was after 6 hours where they were throwing rocks through windows. They were slicing fire hoses, so the firemen are trying to put out their fires, and they go along and they cut the fire hose. So, you want to tell me about peace? That's not how you got to that position. And if you also tell me about peace, that we all need to all get along, well, that means I have to basically only respect your opinion. See, if you're a relativist and you say that your opinion is divisive, you just put a division. You just said you can't be you. It wasn't I who said to be divisive. I just said that contraception should not be handed out in bars. That's what I said. And you said that's divisive. I'm like, who's just divided? I haven't divided myself. I just had a different opinion. You just divided by calling me divisive, according to your own standards. So this works. Because the fact is, it is divisive. Once you're relativistic, everybody is separated. And they just say lay down and die. The other way is, no, fight like mad. I say neither one. I say instead, go back and think. Think and talk.
It's basically the relativists believe that we're not intelligent enough to contemplate what the truth actually is. It's just dictated completely by what we experience.
Good job. So what they're really telling you is you're a mama's boy. Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb? Pink Floyd. That's what they're telling you, Vincenzo. They're like, you know what, your Pope thinks for you, and your culture thinks for you, and your time thinks for you. You're just an idiot. They just insulted you.
The ridiculousness of it is that if they're claiming that for you, they have to claim that for themselves, but they're putting themselves on a higher pedestal and telling you how stupid you
Only
are.
because they're on the winning side.
So for culture to have a flip to a higher moral, more of a group effort of moral standards, does it have to go through another violent period, or can we do it in a peaceful way?
Well,
I
you
mean-
can, of course, do it in a peaceful way. But
How do we do
both
that?
ways, this shift, I want to keep all this up because I think it's really good. But if we were to go over here and just say shifting the culture
Mm-hmm.
requires, this is what's so cool about this. It requires, not just in a sense of an ought, but actually practically,
Mm-hmm.
an appeal to truth. That's what's kind of cool. It's so ironic. So ironic. The relativists had to say, it is true, objectively, that there is no truth. It's so stupid. But they had to say that. They had to say that we're fighting for what's right. And what's right is that women should kill their babies. That's right. And you still see this type of thing. You see Christian churches that do this. They'll be like, there's a Presbyterian church in Peoria, Illinois, that actually, the Presbyterian minister's on the board for Planned Parenthood. And she has a prayer for abortion ceremony. Everybody come together and let's pray that God will expand abortion in America. They have a whole prayer service. May God bless all the abortion clinics, and may God bless all the workers. And the Presbyterian minister is up there doing the blessing. Why? Because it's right. If you don't have that sense of truth or right, there's no sense of battle. Because once I start telling you that it's right to do things, well, now I've just said there's an appeal to something that's above culture. Well, that's how the relativisms got in. They're like, your culture is the old man, it's the church, it's stifling. Even that abortion video, there was a new wind, just something new now. The old culture is death and it's dark and it's yucky. The new culture is beautiful. They're making an appeal here to truth. Turn your back on the old. Open to the new. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. See how this works? And what they're really saying is, join our gang, our little group of opinionated people, and follow my opinion. It's a huge contradiction. But they'll say it as absolute truth. There's no other reason you could have these, people protesting things, praying for abortion to be expanded, all that idiocy. Why are they doing that? It's because they believe it's right. And then they'll do anything. What I just find so ironic is that means that the quest for objective truth is actually behind the claim for relativism. Say that again. The quest, I'll write this down, that's a great quote. You guys totally don't appreciate my genius. What am I to do?
That's right.
I do. I appreciate it for myself.
You have it recorded for later.
The quest for objective truth belies, isn't that even better? Yes. Belies the affirmation. Oh, yes. Of relativism. Relative. I can't spell it out. I'm such a genius, I can't spell it. Okay. And that's where you can nail atheism. Okay, for you it's wrong. But you know what? For me it's okay. What do you say immediately? Be like, is that a truth statement? That it is objectively wrong for me and okay for you objectively? So the world is contradictory? No, I'm not saying it's objective. But you just said it was. It's easy to undercut. The bigger picture I wanted to show you is the result in our society. What it ends up being is that you're not allowed to think free. And in our current culture in America, the ones that were speaking about free thought have now become the tyrants. Their whole thing, remember the Monkees song? Hey, we're the monkeys. People say we monkey around. We're too busy singing to put anybody down. We're just trying to be friendly. Come and watch us sing and play. 'Cause we're the next new generation. And we've got something to say. Okay, so all that kind of stuff, what they're saying is that there needs to be the freedom. Here we come we're walking down the street, we get the funniest looks from everyone we meet, so we're odd compared to what, there's the old and the new, and the new is looked down upon. So, that's fine. The point to get beyond the
I loved
monkeys,
that song when I was a kid. Me too.
beyond the monkeys, is to see what happened there. This is really important, because then the world that we've inherited today is a world that's self-contradictory. And you can say, oh, it's so bad. I actually smile. Because I'm like, that means it's the Catholic moment. You got two attitudes to take in front of that. One is we're defeated, everyone's sick. There's a lot of Catholics that take that. I don't. I look at that and say, well, then how simple to evangelize in that culture? Because all I can do is I can say, okay, there's another way to live. You can live as if your wife is actually the truth of your life. And that when you married her, you did the right thing. And that if you stay married to her and you live for her, you will have a solidity to who you are that nothing can replace. It's very attractive. We just have to, we gotta start to spin things positively. This is gonna be maybe what does Father Nathan contribute to the re-evangelization? It might just be that attitude. Maybe it's actually even what I can do with my podcast. I'm gonna start a podcast next week. Maybe that's what I'll do now. Just do a whole series on here's all the weaknesses and here's how we can turn it on its head. Pretty cool. All right, cool. Can I erase that? You guys get it? Close your eyes. What philosopher said that the
Hume.
end? Yes. Close your eyes.
Dave Hume.
What is the Greek word for end goal?
Taylor,
Yes. Regina, close your eyes.
it's not on the board.
Regina, what happens if, how would you answer atheist Andy who says morals are relativist, are relative? You can, can you try? Try without your notes. Try
I wasn't looking at my notes. He made that up.
Oh my God. You're such
That's your truth. That's your truth. That's not my truth. I know my truth.
I mean,
We could role play this. If you
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So can you be atheist Andy?
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah,
Can
stand.
she be Ganja Greg?
This is the whole thing. Can you be Ganja Greg? Because this will come from Ganja Greg. All right, Rach, you stand up there. We'll do
gosh.
an imaginary scenario.
You gotta have a
Ganja Greg,
you gotta have a Rasta accent. Hey
you
mom.
I don't know how to do that.
you see that Regina is protesting outside the abortion clinic. Okay?
Okay.
This is my sign.
What does it say?
And now Ganja Greg's walking down the sidewalk, and he's like, Caesar, what do you say, Ganja Greg?
Hey mom.
Um,
Ganja?
your fault.
Do you want some Ganja?
You got that good
my fault.
ganja, man.
I hope you're learning. People tell me these techniques to help you learn. This is called liberalism has affected Father Nathan. Go ahead, guys. No,
Yeah.
feel it. It's in your
I'm
body.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Go
How
ahead.
dare you impose your religious beliefs on everybody else? On these poor women.
Come on, Regina.
This is ridiculous.
You guys are being recorded, by the way.
I know.
People are listening
it
all over
off.
the country.
All over the country, all
All
three
three
people.
of them.
Hello to whoever's listening, by the way. We love you.
Thanks for supporting
They
us.
won't be.
Yeah.
listening.
They're laughing hysterically at home, girls. I wish they could see this turtle thing.
Oh my gosh, there's a gorilla behind you.
Boom, Mary's like that. Total joke. I would never have you.
Come on, respond. She just made whatever.
I don't know what I am yet.
Ganja, Georgia.
Ganja Georgetta.
I'm not
Gotcha,
imposing
Georgia.
my beliefs on them. I am just stating what I believe.
Who are you to state what you believe? I mean, this is hard because I agree with her.
Don't be Ganja Greg. Act the part. Get into it. Come on, Rage. She just said, "Who are you?"
What do you think you're gonna do by holding up a sign and telling people not to have an abortion?
What are you doing smoking ganja all day?
Okay, that was great. Great job. Okay. That was really impressive. I'm sure you guys learned so
Oh my
much.
goodness.
Okay, now let's talk then. So once we have that, the objectivity of morality is founded on the real relation between an action and its end. Always remember that. So once I say that an action is for its end, I have morality. And you can say, okay, I'll assume that that's true. I'll just accept that I'm intelligent and I can see that a book is not meant to be a hammer. No, it's a hammer. No, it's not. It's a book. Says who? Says anyone with a brain. Unfortunately, you checked yours out. Well, it's the same way. A body, sexuality, is for a married partner. Who are you to say? Anyone with a brain, I'm sorry that you checked yours at the door. Talk to me, please.
Real what?
Real relationship. Okay, so that being shown, Aristotle then develops that. And he says, okay, the reality of ends are better or worse depending on their finality. Their ability to order other things. And so so then he says, the highest end is, Bree,
God.
good job, happiness. And he defines happiness as, how does he define happiness? Ganja. Whatever his name is. Victorio. Vince.
Victoria,
Vince.
happiness
What is happiness?
is the best end goal,
Good try.
the top of the end
You
goals.
can't bluff with me. I know I'm dealing with a bluffer.
Yeah.
I was a bluffer all the way through school. Do you know the answer?
No.
Okay, let's say that then. Regina.
Acting with my soul in control.
Yes.
I missed that part yesterday.
Acting according to.
Virtue.
Nice. That's where I want to pick up. Shifting our pedagogical tactics once again, lest we bore people. We'll now shift to the reading. Take a look at Nicomachean Gnostics, Book 1, Chapter 8. Why don't you go ahead and read, Ganja?
8?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. We must consider it, however, in the light not only of our conclusion and our premises, but also of what is commonly said about it.
So this is happiness he's talking about.
For with a true view, all the data harmonize, but with a false one, the facts soon clash. Now goods have been divided into 3 classes, and some are described as external, others as relating to the soul or the body. We call those that relate to the soul most properly and truly goods. And physical actions and activities we class as relating to soul. Therefore our account must be sound, at least according to this view, which is an old one, and agreed on by philosophers. It is correct also in that we identify the end with certain actions and activities, for thus it falls among goods of the soul and not among external goods. Another belief which harmonizes with our account is that the happy man lives well and does well, for we have practically defined happiness as a sort of good life and good action. The characteristics that are looked for in happiness seem also, all of them, to belong to what we have defined happiness as being. For some identify happiness with virtue, some with practical wisdom, others with a kind of philosophic wisdom,
Philosophical.
philosophic
Yeah.
wisdom.
That just means something.
Others with these, or one of these, accompanied by pleasure or not without pleasure, while others include also external prosperity. Now some of these views have been held by many men and men of old, others by a few eminent persons, and it is not probable that either of these should be entirely mistaken. but rather that they should be right in at least some one respect, or even in most respects.
Okay, so it's kind of confusing reading him because it's dense and old. What he just did there is he went through and said, okay, all kinds of people say different things about happiness. So he went and listed off a bunch of them. So it can be like at the beginning of class where I'm like, well, some people say this, and some people say this, and some people say that's what he's done.
Yeah. Some are looking for pleasure, some are looking for external, like,
Yeah.
gain in life.
Good job. And it's in amongst them, some say it's both, some say it's for a short time. And then he's going to sink in and say, well, here's what I say.
With those who identify happiness with virtue, or some one virtue, our account is in harmony.
So he did, the account was earlier saying for to be according to virtue. And he's like, and there are other people that say that too.
For to virtue belongs virtuous activity, but it makes, perhaps, no small difference whether we place the chief good in possession or in use, in state of mind or in activity. For the state of mind may exist without producing any good result, as in a man who is asleep or in some other way quite inactive. But the activity cannot, for one who has the activity will of necessity being acted, and acting well. And as in the Olympic Games, it is not the most beautiful and the strongest that are crowned, but those who compete, for it is some of these that are victorious. So those who act win, and rightly win, the noble and good things in life. Their life is also in itself pleasant, for pleasure is a state of soul, and to each man that which he is said to be a lover of is pleasant. For example, not only is a horse pleasant to the lover of horses, and a spectacle to the lover of sights, but also in the same way, just acts are pleasant to the lover of justice, and in general, virtuous acts to the lover of virtue. Now for most men, their pleasures are in conflict with one another, because these are not by nature pleasant. But the lovers of what is noble find pleasant the things that are by nature pleasant, and virtuous actions are such. So that these are pleasant for such men as well as in their own nature. For their life, therefore, has no further need of pleasure as a sort of advantageous charm, but has its pleasure in itself. For, besides what we have said, the man who does not rejoice in noble actions is not even good, since no one would call a man just who did not enjoy acting justly, nor any man liberal who did not enjoy liberal actions. And similarly in all other cases. If this is so, virtuous actions must be in themselves pleasant, but they are also good and noble, and have each of these attributes in the highest degree. Since the good man judges well about these attributes, his judgment is such as we have described. Happiness then is the best, noblest, and most pleasant thing in the world, and these attributes are not served as in the inscription at Delos. Most noble is that which is justest, and best is health, but pleasantest is it to win what we love. For all these properties belong to the best activities, and these, or one, the best of these, we identify with happiness. Yet evidently, as we said, it needs the external goods as well, for it is impossible, or not easy, to do noble acts without the proper equipment. In many actions we use friends and riches and political power as instruments, and there are some things the lack of which takes the luster from happiness, as good birth, goodly children, beauty. For the man who is very ugly in appearance, or ill-born, or solitary, and childless is not very likely to be happy, and perhaps a man would be still less likely if he had thoroughly bad children or friends, or had lost good children or friends by death. As we said then, happiness seems to need this sort of prosperity in addition, for which reason some identify happiness with good fortune, though others identify it with virtue.
So I'm glad that you're taking time to read Aristotle. Never get frustrated when you're reading Genius. It's almost like drinking a double IPA. You might not like it, but you need to drink it. Because only by drinking it do you get used to its strange taste.
terrible example.